So I can do my work. She's doing her homework.
Make shorts too. They turn into shorts. For real? Said I had biscuits in here. We think it was fuzz. I talked to them Friday. I'm looking at like March. But we can go before then, but we'll go qualify in March probably. I talked to Samantha Friday about that, so you don't want to go in January, February. It's too likely to just be a downpour, you know. All right. Good morning, guys. We're going to get started. It's a few minutes after 9:30. I know some other people will be coming in, but thankful that you're here this morning. This is the last week of Trauma Reboot, and there's one more week in your book. JB will come up and talk about that at the end. But week 11 this week is where we are in your book. I think it's somewhere around page 109. 108, something like that. Is that right? In your book. Well, let's review a little bit of last week, though. Week 10, we talked about forgiveness a whole lot, and so talked about some common misunderstandings about forgiveness. What are some of those common misunderstandings? One, that we're doing it for the other person, right? What's another common misunderstanding about forgiveness? Another one is that it happens as soon as you say it, and it don't, right? Forgiveness is a process. And who is hurt the most by unforgiveness? You are, the person that was hurt is. And who benefits the most? Same, you do, I do, we do. We benefit from forgiveness. So we forgive because Christ forgave us. When we accept grace, we become gracious. When we accept mercy, we become merciful. And when we accept forgiveness, we tend to forgive. And that's a true story in our life. And so let's focus on that as we go forward. Whether you realized it or not, we've been working through the healing equation. Way back in, I think, week 3 or 4, we talked about the healing equation. I don't know if any of you remember it, but just as a reminder, the healing equation is safety plus stability plus support over time equals healing. Safety plus stability plus support over time equals healing. And up to this point, we focused primarily on safety for the last several weeks. We've kind of been in that safety realm with every week that's passed. Hopefully, you've gained more safety by surrounding yourself with people who care about you. You've done that by coming here. Hopefully, you've trusted God to help you carry some of those burdens that just seem way too heavy to carry on your own, and maybe you dug up some roots that were causing that instability in your life, like those nasty roots, like unforgiveness and guilt and shame and regret, low self-esteem, and all those things. Hopefully those roots were replaced with a more stable root that over time will help you every week to heal more and more. And I hope you've kind of started seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. And that you've learned to come out of these traumatic experiences and emerge victoriously through those. And also, we hope that you've learned and gotten more wisdom that'll help you after this course is over. But knowledge, I heard Benny Tate say this morning, and it's so true, knowledge is only helpful if we put it into place. It's one thing to go to school and learn, but if you don't put what you learn into place, then you don't have wisdom, right? We're going to talk about that a little more. It's funny that I listened to Benny Tate a lot on Sunday mornings, and he was kind of right where we are this morning. And so if we listen in Trauma Reboot, if we listen to our friends and we listen to advice and we listen to things, but we choose to not apply that advice into our life, it don't do us any good. None at all. The stability and momentum that maybe you've gained, and I know some of you have. You talked to me and JB separately or in class, or I can just see the look on your face is different for some people in here. You've gotten something from this. But just like we've developed that over the last several weeks, it can be destroyed as well. So there's a Roman writer named Seneca. He said, no man was ever wise by chance. You have to intentionally that'll help you even after we're done with this. So, have you ever met somebody who lives a life of perpetual chaos? Maybe you're that person who lives a life of perpetual chaos. I don't know. It's that person, they're always running late to appointments. They always wake up just in time to run get in the shower. And they always, they hop from one emergency to the next, right? There are people that they love to be in the middle of chaos. They love for things to be up in the air all the time. And if it's not, they'll do what they can to stir it up, right? Y'all know who I'm talking about. They're just always running late. They're always running around. That's not a way to live. Man, that breeds instability. That breeds insecurity. And that breeds even more chaos. And to make matters worse, it's exhausting. It's exhausting to live that way. I know people who, and I've been there before myself, who get up, like they sleep late every single morning and have to rush to get ready, forget breakfast, and they do this, and they run into work late, and they're just, oh man, just a terrible morning. So, get up earlier, right? And it ruins your whole day. I feel so much better when I get up early in the morning, when I drink my coffee in a regular coffee cup and not pour it in a to-go cup, right? And I just have a better day when I get up early. I have a better day when I knew somebody would walk in late when I'm talking about being late, but I'm not like picking on nobody. It's in the book, I promise y'all. I didn't just wait on y'all to come in to say that. But some people live that way every single day of their life. And it's like just running from one chaotic event to the next. And they're just always stressed out. Imagine how much energy it takes to live every single day in survival mode. I mean, it ain't fun to go swimming if you're trying to stay afloat the whole time, right? That's not fun. If you can't relax and get on the float and throw the ball, it's not fun to just sit there and flail around. Some of us live our life that way. We're just flailing around all day, every day. We're just trying to survive. Here's a truth for you. We can never plan for tomorrow if we're too busy trying to survive today. We can never plan for tomorrow if we're too busy trying to survive for today. And our goal after finishing Reboot is that we'll be able to take the energy that we've gained, not to recover, or not just to recover, but to build to a brighter future. One that's marked by stability. You know, stability and safety are two things that everybody wants. A child wants stability. They may not admit it, but a child needs stability. A child needs routine. A child, Bryce's kindergarten student, she comes home talking about them every day, and they need routine to succeed. They need consistency to succeed, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So, to define stability, what is that? It's on page 108 in your book. You can fill in the blanks here. Stability is our mind, body, and soul's need for balance and regularity. It's our mind, body, and soul's need for balance and regularity. And everybody needs balance and regularity. Everybody needs that. Stability will eliminate, or at least mitigate, make less bad on you. Stability will eliminate extreme highs and lows. Everybody needs balance. An extreme high is fun, but with every extreme high comes an extreme low, right? With every extreme high in life comes an extreme low. And some people live way up here and way down here, and they don't know how to live right here. Right? Some people do that. We need stability. Stability helps us to balance stress, maintain healthy relationships, and even sleep better. We need that environment in our life. If we're going to find purpose, if we're going to try new things, we need stability. The sensation of moving from one crisis to the next will continue until stability is restored. We're just going to move from one thing to the next. And as we try to rebuild our lives after a traumatic experience, stability is fragile. Once we get that stability, it can be broken real easy. Just one little thing can knock it away from us. We can start feeling like things are returning to normal only to have something unexpected mess up our progress. That whole theory of one step forward and two steps back, right? You've all been there. A relationship that was going well falls apart. You lose your job that's been your only constant for the last several years, or maybe doctors switch your medication or do something that messes with your body in a certain way. What kind of setbacks have you dealt with? I want you to write those down on page 108. Setbacks that you've experienced in your journey towards stability. Think about some setbacks that you've had in your life. Some things that have just kind of kicked you in the tail when everything was going good, and then all of a sudden you had that setback. We've all had them, right? We've all had setbacks with health issues or relational issues, financial issues. Like as soon as you get that $500 saved up and stick it in the back of your wallet, the truck breaks down, right? We've all had a setback of some sort. And regardless of our setbacks, but regardless of those, we can agree that life after trauma has obstacles. There's going to be obstacles. And you know why that is mainly? Because Satan don't want to see you progress in life. Satan don't want to see you make steps towards healing. He wants you out of the game. He wants you unable to heal. He wants you to stay in that crisis mode, that earthquake mode. Remember we talked about earthquakes a while back. He wants you to stay. Satan loves for you to be in chaos. He's the master of lies. Satan is the master of confusion. The Bible says so. I'm not just saying that. The Bible says it. He is the master of confusion. And if he can keep you and your spouse fighting all the time, buddy, he's going to do it. If he can insert somebody from the opposite sex right in between your marriage, he's going to do it. If he can set some financial strain on you, he's going to do it. Now, I'm not giving Satan credit for all your wrongdoing, and I think we're guilty in that sometimes. We blame Satan on everything, right? It's not always Satan. Sometimes it's us being stupid and making dumb decisions, right? And we like to blame Satan for it. But Satan's job is to cause confusion. His job is to do that. Look at 1 Peter 5:8, and I'm going to read it the way the book writes it here. I've studied it out, and I agree with this version here. But it says, "Be alert and of a sober mind, because your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour." He prowls around. You've seen the National Geographic movies, right? With the lion and the guy with the accent talking real quiet in the background. And the lion, he's like creeping up on the antelope or whatever. That's what Satan does to us. That's how Satan comes. But you've also seen the remains of that animal after the lion got through with it, right? That's Satan's goal for your life. That's what he wants you to look like when he's done with you. He don't want to just ruin your vacation. He don't want to just put an extra bill on you. He wants to devour you. He wants to rip you apart. He wants to take your life away from you. He's going to tempt you with some of these destructive, numbing behaviors that we've talked about. And he's going to be more than happy to just dump loads of shame on you when you mess up, when you make bad decisions. That's why 1 Peter 5:8 tells us, be alert and be sober. When we hear the word sober, we think about the opposite of sober is drunk, right? In our opinion, when we think about that, it's drunk. Let's take that example for a minute and think about alcohol. When alcohol is on board somebody in their system, they're not thinking right. They're not of a sober mind. They're not well balanced. They're not disciplined. They're in a bad state of mind, and they can't stand firm physically or mentally when they're drunk. We can't do that. But when sober mind, sure, we can apply that to alcohol. We can also apply that to worldly things that get in our way. Worldly things that come across our plate and get in our way and distract us from Satan's plan to attack us. Setbacks are going to happen. We're all going to suffer again in our life at some point. Sometimes the suffering's out of our control. Sometimes it won't be because of any action on our part. And when those things happen, we have to trust that God is recycling that experience into something helpful, into something useful. But there are setbacks and pain that we can avoid too. Because a lot of times we cause those setbacks, and a lot of times we cause that pain. And we do that by making bad decisions. We do that by making decisions that destroy our long-term stability. So let's look at two primary behaviors that separate people who live a stable life and people who live in chaos. The first one on page 109 in your book, you fill in the blank here, stable people make wise choices. Anybody ever made an unwise choice? Boy, you remember that unwise choice we made to tie that side by side by a rope on one end and ride it down this straight hill on the other end? I don't know how we made it, but that was probably not a wise choice. I think God had His protection on us. We've all made choices that probably wasn't the wisest choice in the world. Stable people make wise choices. Look at your past. You ever made an unwise choice? We make unwise choices. I got to pick on him. Some of you may be sitting here today like, I shouldn't even be here today. I've made some choices that are so silly that God could have taken me a long time ago, and rightfully so. Right? I've made, the odds were stacked against me. Maybe it's a complex health issue. Maybe it's a bad financial time or some tragic loss you've experienced, and you're like, man, I shouldn't even be here. But most likely, the victory through that trauma was based on a wise decision that you made that enabled you to survive. Many times we want to improve our situations and improve our life, but we make choices that work completely against that. We make bad choices that go against our goals. Imagine you go to the doctor because you got a cut. The doctor gives you stitches. And the doctor gives you instructions that there's some things you should avoid. You shouldn't play sports. You need to cover up the wound when you take a shower. You need to be careful not to put strain on the cut because the stitches will come out. And if that happens, then the healing process starts all over, right? That's simple enough to understand. When we heal from trauma, it's the same way. There are going to be some instructions, some behaviors that we have to refrain from while we're healing. There are going to be some things we shouldn't do. Maybe some places we can't go or some people we shouldn't see because to do so would risk reopening that wound. We don't want to bring that chaos back to our life. We don't need that. We need safety, we need stability, and we need support. And all of us have a go-to behavior. That numbing, painkiller thing that we do when we feel stressed or overwhelmed, right? We all have it. I don't know, a lot of times though, those things we run to for help actually hurt us. When I'm stressed, I'll just be honest with y'all, I ain't scared. I stand in the pantry just looking. Whatever's in there, I'm going to eat it. That's what I do. I ain't even hungry and I'm eating, right? When I'm in a bad situation or trying to heal from a bad situation and I just can't handle it no more, I go to the pantry. Some people go to alcohol. Some people go to physical prescription drugs that they shouldn't overtake in those. Some people go to illegal drugs. Some people go to pornography. Some people go to adultery and some people, whatever, all these different things. But I want you to ask yourself this, what are your go-to painkillers What are your numbing agents? We all have them. We all have those things. Where are the places you go that you shouldn't be going anymore? And who are we inviting into our life that they're not helping you get where you need to be? They're actually hurting you from getting where you need to be. I don't want you to answer that, but will anybody just raise their hand and say, I have a go-to painkiller that I need to get away from? I know I do, yeah. We all have those things that they're hurting us and we think they're helping us. It's kind of like, y'all, ain't no joke. I saw a kid talking in Rogers one time, and his parents were with another couple, and they're trying to eat dinner, and the kid's talking and aggravating the parent for whatever, whatever. The kid's aggravating the parent. What's the parent do? They stick a screen in the kid's face. I'm sorry, that might help you eat dinner with your friends, but that's hurting the kid in the long run. Y'all, no joke. I watched this kid get his Brunswick stew, missed his mouth because he's so focused on that tablet. Missed his mouth. Now think about that kid. That fixes that situation, right? Mama and daddy can have dinner peaceably with their friends. That's hurting the kid. That's hurting the kid. We got to get away from those sort of things. All right, stable people make wise choices. Here's why I'm talking about this so bad. All numbing agents aren't entirely bad. They're not entirely bad in and of themselves. It's not wrong to go in the pantry and get a little snack every now and then, right? That's not as a bad thing. There are some numbing agents you have that may not be a bad thing. And we may even be able to dabble into those things without getting into too much trouble. I may be able to eat a little popcorn or get a little snacky snack or whatever. We may be able to hang out with that old friend for a few days. We may be able to take just one drink. We may be able to do this just one time. We feel like it's not a big deal. But that lion on National Geographic, he don't just show up and say, hey guys, I'm here, and take off after everybody. He sneaks around, don't he? He's real quiet. The antelope's over there eating. Antelope looks up, sees the lion, and goes back to eating. Because the lion's just kind of quietly walking around. Our addictive behaviors are the same way. It don't seem like a big deal. But by the time that antelope realizes what's happening, it's too late, right? And by the time I realize I've been in the pantry too long, my pants don't fit anymore. Right? Or whatever your numbing agent is. There's a negative effect to that. 1 Peter says, be alert. Be alert to things. Don't be surprised when that old temptation comes knocking at your door. Whatever your old temptation is. Don't be surprised when that old friend or family member starts bringing trauma back into your life. Setbacks will happen. The key is to rebound by making some wise choices. Those painkillers provide temporary relief, but it's not going to last long. Number one way to build stability is make wise choices. Number two, page 110 in your book, stable people take personal responsibility. Stable people take personal responsibility. I'll admit this to you guys, it's been the hardest one for me to do, but it's the one I stick to people now more than anything. Own up to what you're doing or what you're not doing. Our parents told us only you can be responsible for your decisions. You can't blame little Johnny because you was talking on the bus today. It's your fault, right? We tend to want to blame somebody. We tend to focus in trauma. We want to focus on everybody else's situations instead of our own. That's just kind of what we do. For example, 2 ways I'm going to talk about personal responsibility. One, you may dive headfirst into somebody else's problem to try to help them. They're dealing with anxiety. Well, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to help them with anxiety because I know anxiety because I deal with anxiety. So I'm going to jump in and I'm going to help this person with anxiety while all along I'm stuck in my own ditch of anxiety and won't address my own issue, right? That's one way we don't take personal responsibility. Other people's situations and problems are a great distraction from us dealing with our own situations and problems. The other example, which is the one I harp on the most because it has eaten me up at times, and I see it's eating my family up at times, is spending all our time and energy blaming somebody else for our problems. I'm just being real with you guys. We blame other people for every situation we end up in. We like to gripe and complain. We post all these angry social media stuff thinking the world's going to feel sorry for us. We shake our fists. We're mad at people who caused all this to happen. But at the end of the day, your anger and your outbursts don't change any bad situation you're in. It don't change or fix or anything. If we're going to heal from trauma, we have to acknowledge our own role in this process. We have to acknowledge that it's us. We can't blame our trauma for all the bad things in our life. We can't blame all these things on everybody but ourselves. We have to take ownership of our actions and sometimes change direction. It's hard for a man to do, especially a type A man. Trauma may have opened the door to this dangerous behavior, but we play the role in closing that door. Stability is impossible to create without personal responsibility. It's impossible. And hear me good here. The trauma and crisis may not have been your fault, but healing from it is your responsibility. I'll be a little hard with you about that because sometimes we just need it. Maybe nothing that's happened to you is your fault, but I'm sorry, it's your responsibility to fix it. And it's only your responsibility to fix it. Chris Addis said this, he's one of the founders of Reboot, said healing is our responsibility because unprocessed pain gets transformed to everybody around us, and we're not going to allow what happened to someone else or what someone else did to us become what we do to those we love. Another lady said healing's our responsibility because healing actually is not returning to how and who we were before. It's becoming someone we've never been, somebody stronger, wiser, and kinder. There are some things you can only do yourself. Accepting loss and grieving is only something you can do. Nobody else can grieve for you. Nobody else can accept that loss for you. Forgiving somebody, that's only something you can do. Can't nobody else forgive for you. And taking responsibility for your own actions is only something you can do. There's nothing worse than somebody who wants to take credit for everything when all is well, but wants to blame everybody else when things get bad, right? Y'all know those people. Y'all work with them. Live with them. Maybe you're like me. You look at him in the mirror sometimes. Man, when things are going good, man, we're doing great. But something goes bad, oh man, that's JB's fault. Sorry. Usually is, but. On page 110, those people with a victim mentality don't overcome trauma. Trauma defeats them. Are there victims in this world? Yes. Are you a victim? Yes. But you cannot live with a victim mentality because this world don't owe you anything and it's not going to pay you back if it did. It's up to you. Those people that identify themselves as victim, poor, pitiful me, right? Y'all know who I'm talking about. They having a pity party and they want everybody to come. They want everybody to show up and bring their pity too. They want to. These are the people that will never beat trauma. They see themselves as helpless with no control over their lives. They are always looking for somebody to save them or rescue them. They're always looking for that person to step in the situation, and they end up in an abusive relationship. They end up thinking maybe this is the stability I need. They believed opportunities are doomed from the start because they find negative in every situation. Some of you know who I'm talking about, and some of you know I'm talking about you, right? Or I'm talking about me. Here's the thing, though. Even if somebody else got you in this painful situation, I promise you they're not interested in helping you get out of it. They're the ones who caused this. Why are you spending all your energy still trying to blame them? They're not going to help you get out of it. It's our responsibility. It's up to us to do that. Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. There's a roadmap to creating stability here. We're going to look at that. It's on page 112 in your book. I want you to kind of fill in the blanks as I go through this. It's practical. Let's look at what we can really do to make wise choices and what we can really do to take personal responsibility. There's 5 ways here I'm going to show you here. Number 1, make stability a top priority. Make stability a top priority. Make stability a top priority. You know what a misbehaving child needs? Consistency. Consistency. They don't need putting mama against daddy because daddy will let me get away with this and mama won't. They need consistency. They need stability. And they need to make it a priority. And it takes a conscious effort to make that happen. Routines are good. I like a routine. I don't like a plan. Like I like to go on vacation and do whatever, but I do like a routine. I don't like itineraries, but I do like a routine. I like to know at 5:15 Amber's coming in the door. And if she's not, she's going to text me by 5:05 and say, hey, I'm still at work. Brianne's taking forever. No, she's never said that about you. But seriously, 6 o'clock, Bryce better be walking in that door or at least calling, and she's 25. And I want to know where you're at. I don't care if you don't come home, but tell me you're not coming home. Wednesday night, I expect Lexi to be here. I expect Vince to be here, and Terry and Jeannie and Bryce. I expect them to be here. Not like from a I'm the boss kind of guy, but you have a role to fill, and I expect you to be here. And if not, I want to know, not because I'm nosy, I want to know you're okay, first of all. 2, I want to know the kids are going to be taken care of. Routine. Routine is a good thing. Go to bed and wake up the same time every day. Eat 3 regular meals. Exercise at the same time. Practice daily gratitude. Read your Bible every day. Our brains thrive on stability and routine. I'm not talking about the guy who wears the same white shirt and same black pants every day to work. I'm not talking about that. Just routine. If it's out of the norm, it throws you off, right? It messes you up. You have to get back right. Number 2, live within your financial means. I'm going to read from right here on this one. So, don't spend more money than you bring in. Right? Don't do that. Man, that's something we've had to learn. We need to cut expenses and have a savings. Man, y'all, I lived too many years getting paid on Friday and broke on Monday. Man, just flailing around in the water trying to not drown. I lived so many years like that. Come Wednesday, I just had to eat what was left, right? If it was ramen noodles mixed with tuna fish, well, that's just what you got. Yeah, that's gross, I know. But sometimes that's the way it was, right? And for some people, and it still is sometimes. Man, we ain't got it made, I promise you. We still struggle sometimes, but I don't have to worry about food right now, you know? I don't have to worry about putting $5 worth of gas in the car. I just fill it up, you know? And I'm not bragging at all. I'm talking about living within your means. And that starts with tithing. That starts with being obedient to God and what God's given you. Trust me, I know that from experience. Financial hardships will wreck stability faster than anything. Financial hardships will wreck a marriage faster than anything. Financial hardships will turn your smile into a frown quicker than anything. This world lives and dies on money. And I'm not talking about being rich. I'm talking about making it without having to survive. Thriving instead of surviving. 3, don't overreact. Man, the littlest thing happens and we just blow up, right? And we're mad at that person for the rest of the day. For one little silly thing. Drama is not a characteristic that defines stable people. If y'all got dramatic people in your life, get away from them. I can't stand drama. I cannot stand it. Drama will keep you busy, but it's so unproductive. Why do we keep rehashing negative experiences over and over and over and over in our life? We just keep living it. Every time your spouse makes you mad, you bring up that thing they did 10 years ago, or that thing they did last week. Why are we holding on to that stuff? Overreacting. 4, find stable friends. Hang out with people that are of a sober mind. Hang out with people that make good decisions. Brandon, wasn't it you the other day? He said if you hang out with 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th. Didn't you post that? What was the other part of it? If you hang out with... Yeah, you're going to be the next dope head, right? That's true. That's true. Surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with stable people. Surround yourself with people that are of a sober mind. People that are thinking clearly and living towards the way you want to live. Because positive behavior will rub off on you just like negative behavior will. See, Angel's making a good decision. She's walking away from Travis right now. Great. See, this class is working. Number 5, limit your use of substances. Limit your use of substances. Alcohol or other substances may cloud your thinking and lead you to make bad decisions. So will food. So will overusing prescription drugs. Right? So will all these other numbing agents. That time you feel you need to, in this instance it talks about alcohol, but in that time you feel like you most need to go drink, you probably don't need to. In that time you feel like you most need to go to the pantry, you probably don't need to. At that time you feel like you need to go to that web page that you probably don't need to. That time you feel like you need to call that person of the opposite sex who works with you because they're your go-to person, your work wife, your work cut, that's a bunch of junk, I'm just telling you. You probably don't need to. Addiction makes stability impossible. When we have safety established, when we have that safety established in our life, then our focus needs to go to stability. Imagine how good it would feel to dream again or to hope again or to smile again. Stable people make plans and they work towards completing those plans. They have healthy relationships. They have hope that's found in God. It's built on mature faith and trust. Sounds good, but if we're going to do that, we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be honest with ourselves about where we are and what we need to do. We lie to ourselves, right? We blame ourselves, or we blame others, and that don't produce stability. And if there's a hidden addiction that may have developed inside of you, it may not be alcohol, drugs, food, pornography, it may not be any of those, but if there's an addiction that you have, it's time to expose it. Call it what it is. It's Satan prowling around. It's Satan trying to devour you. Maybe it's suicidal thoughts or something that's creeped at the door of your mind that's kind of trying to get in on you. Now it's time to make a wise choice. Share that struggle with other people. Share it with somebody else. Indecision crushes stability. It crushes it. You know, even at your best, you're still going to make bad decisions sometimes. You're still going to make a wrong decision sometimes. But the good news is, more than likely, if you will live to regret them, because trauma that's caused you to lose your decision-making confidence, when that stuff happens, you can lean on the counsel of other like-minded, sober-minded, alert people. And when we make those decisions to heal and move forward, it's not an exact science, because when we're in that safety stage, refraining from making decisions is fine, but when we're in that stability building phase, indecisiveness will eat you alive. Not being able to make a decision. You will always make the wrong decision if you're not decisive. We're going to read the rest of 1 Peter, or not the rest, but another section here of chapter 5 here, page 114. This is a specific plan on how we can create stability even during our suffering. Look at 1 Peter 5, 6 through 10. I'm going to read it from the book here. It says, humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of God, so at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Resist him, firm in your faith, knowing that the same kinds of suffering are being experienced by your brotherhood throughout the world. And after you've suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who's called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. That's a good way to end this trauma reboot right there. Y'all take that scripture, put it on your refrigerator, do whatever you need to do with it. Thank y'all so much for being here this morning. JB, I've left you 30 seconds to come up here and talk about the next step.
Chapter 12, and yet Jason didn't give me much time, so in chapter 12, it's moving forward after reboot.